Hey everyone, and welcome to today's video. So today I'm going to be showing you how I set and style my new haircut. So I've only recently had my hair changed. I cut it into a pretty blunt bob with a fringe as well and had it completely dyed green, so I'm very excited. It's been about 2 weeks or so and I've washed it a few times since. Yeah, here we go. So to start off with, I'm just brushing my fringe to the side and trying to create a side parting. With this new haircut, I'm wearing it as a fringe with a centre parting at the back. I have a lot of trouble brushing my fringe to the side and getting a fringe in the first place because I have a pretty extreme cowlick. So I'm just running some setting spray over it. I'm starting with dry hair and I'm just trying to dampen it with the setting spray. It's a diluted setting spray. I'm not actually sure what brand it is, but Miss Flossy Potts brought it back for me from the UK. So this is actually my first time using these Swiss / sort of competition rollers with the pins. I usually stick to foam rollers, or I'll occasionally pin curl it, either with pin curling clips or just bobby pins. So it's a bit of a learning curve at the same time as trying to curl my hair. There are a lot of sections I kind of have to re-go over and do a few times because I'm figuring things out. As you can see here, it's quite difficult for me to incorporate my fringe into these longer sections I'm rolling up. Because I've got more of a blunt cut, the hair at the top nearest my fringe is the longest, so incorporating the teeny tiny bits into it is a bit difficult. I'm taking the hair up. It's probably not a 90-degree angle. I'm taking the hair away from the head. Realistically, it's maybe 75 degrees, but you want to be able to get some volume in at the roots from just the set itself. And here, just sort of fiddling with that bit, trying to make sure it's curled. It's hard because my fringe is quite short. So the setting spray I'm using is about a 1:1 dilution with water. I didn't want to dilute it too much because this is more of a sort of fast set. I was just doing it on the day, not sleeping in it. I left it for a couple of hours, so I wanted the setting spray to give a really strong hold. The sections I'm taking are about 1/2 inch to 1 inch deep and then maybe a couple of inches wide. I want narrower sections that I can roll across the whole body of the roller. With foam rollers I'd go maybe 1 inch deep and then I'd sort of do more of a square section to roll. It's mainly because my foam rollers are a bit larger than these. I think these might have had a diameter of 1/2 inch at the tip, and the ones I tend to use are 5/8 of an inch or 1 inch to 1.25 inches. I've had a few sizes and it sort of varies depending on my hair length when I buy new ones, and I'm set with different size rollers. So I'm rolling all of the rollers down in this set. Usually I'd kind of mix it up and do a few different angles, but I wanted sort of quite a cleanly rolled page boy sort of style, so I just wanted them all to be swept under. I really like these rollers. I think that the pins make them a lot more secure as they're so long that you end up pinning through your first roller and hitting the one at the back as well, really locking them in place. So I've got these 4 different kinds of rollers. I think they look about the same size. I'm honestly not too sure if there's a difference between them as I was just given them. I'm still putting different colours in different sections of my hair as it shows up easier, and it's the kind of thing I would do with my foam rollers anyways. It's, you know, it looks a bit nicer. So here is the finished set on my head. My camera actually died so I couldn't show you everything, but honestly it was just more of the same rolling rollers down and under. As you can see, a few of them have loosened off and that one at the back is barely clinging on. I had them in for a couple of hours while I was sort of doing things around the house, so they did get a bit jostled. I'm just removing them one by one, starting at the centre back and working my way up. It's a lot easier to take out rollers from the bottom up, otherwise you've just got hair tangling into rollers you're trying to pull underneath it, and it's just... yeah, if you're new to setting your hair, definitely pull them out from the back and then set from the top down. I found these relatively easy to take out of my hair as well. There are a couple of rollers which snag a bit, but for the most part it was pretty easy. I definitely wouldn't use this width of roller on hair much longer as it's just far too small. I ended up setting a long wig with these rollers and it just really didn't work out. There were sections of hair I ended up having to cut out because they just got too tangled. It's nowhere near as bad as like Velcro rollers, but it's still, just because it's sharp plastic gripping into them instead of like against soft foam. So usually when I take my rollers out I get, you know, that Shirley Temple sort of look, like these really tight curls, but I found with these it was a bit more sort of rough and all over the place. It's more of a Bellatrix Lestrange kind of vibe, especially with the hair colour as well. So I'm just running my fingers through it, doing a bit of a finger brush just to see where areas are wanting to go, making sure there are no knots, separating it out, blending the curls. So I'm taking my trusty paddle brush for this. I always brush out my sets with a paddle brush now. I used to use one of those, you know, white-toothed Denman combs that everyone recommends, but it just wasn't doing for me what it seemed to be doing for everyone else. I really like a flat paddle brush because it just smooths everything into place quite quickly and really shapes those waves, or at least it gets the waves into place for you to shape them more or define them more later on. So the hair's got a really nice amount of volume. I liked that about these rollers. As you can see, I am having a bit of trouble with this back sort of section. I did struggle with it with this set. I found it was just too much hair and it was too thick on one side. Next time I would definitely kind of stick to setting my fringe and then doing not so extreme a side part. I might even just do a middle part and maybe have one side tucked behind my ear. So I'm quite happy with how the other side is shaping out. Just smoothing it down with some hairspray and using the back of a teasing brush. It's a lot easier to smooth hair out with the back of a brush. If you use your fingers, the hairspray does tend to stick to it and pull some hairs up. So I'm just shaping the back now, brushing it out, and using sectioning clips to get that sort of page boy bump in the back. It's really such a beautiful shape, and it does, just clipping it and hairspraying it will make such a difference to how the back of your set looks. The fringe ended up really beautiful, which I was really happy with. I had no idea how it was going to go. I don't think I haven't had a fringe for probably 6 years, and when I did have a fringe I never set it. I always just kept it in sort of a Betty Bang style, so I had no idea how setting the fringe was going to go, but yeah, I ended up being quite happy with it. So I'm taking out the clips and then just popping another one back in as I'm trying to get this hair that's weighing down the side more to the back. So I'm just brushing it back, spraying it, and then clipping it into place to make it set. And that gives me a lot more time to focus on kind of hand moulding the curls at the front and shaping them. As I go along, I'm just making sure to hairspray and like lock into place the bits I'm happy with, because if you don't do that, you might have a bit you're really happy with, move on to something else, and then you brush against it, you bump it, and it's ruined. I would always work on my hair kind of section by section by section, being happy with it and then spraying it out. So here I'm just bumping up the back, kind of reinforcing that shape and spraying underneath it, getting it to really hold that place. I ended up being quite happy with it. It's more of a sort of late 50s, early 60s, you know, Betty Draper from Mad Men, when the curls were becoming a little bit looser. It wasn't so kind of tight and defined curl. It wasn't what I was expecting would happen with the set, but I am really happy with it. And here is the finished look. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I was a little bit concerned about the fringe because I did have it cut into sort of a Betty Bang thing was what I intended, but it's got such a great wave in it. I'm really excited for it, and hopefully my hair will stay set for longer since it's got bleach, so it's just a little bit more textured. I usually have dead straight hair and I've been dyeing it black over dark brown for a number of years, so it's just a bit too smooth and hasn't got enough like grip or texture, so I'm hoping this will hold a lot better. It was really fast to do as well, so I put my rollers in with just a setting spray diluted and I let it dry for about 2 hours before taking them out, and it was completely bone dry, totally curled, which I'm really thrilled about. I'm also using a new type of roller that I haven't used before, these sort of Swiss competition rollers which you put a pin through. So these actually belong to my Nana and she recently gave them to me, so I'm super excited to try them out, and I really love that you can get a set done quite quickly. It means that if I don't want to, I won't have to sleep in foam rollers overnight. Mine are quite a bit bigger as well, so I think I can just wake up early, pop these in, do a quick spray, and then get about my morning if I'm going out and setting my hair. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you've seen that you don't really need a super like vintagey cut to necessarily style a vintage. I'm not really a fan of a midi. The layering doesn't work on me. I prefer a blunt cut, and I'm really impressed with how this turned out and stoked with the fringe as well. So thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.